Welcome to Rapid Harmony. I'm Kyle Emmanuel Brown. This is a space for high-achieving souls who want more than outcomes. You want resonance, you want truth, you want a life that moves with purpose instead of pressure. Here, we explore success with the soul and direction with depth. We slow things down just enough to hear your own wisdom again. We breathe, we question, we remember the part of you that never needed permission to leave. Every conversation is an invitation to trust yourself more than the noise around you, and live from that clarity that rises when you stop forcing and start listening. Take a breath, settle in, let's begin. So Chuck, most people believe that healing requires supplements, medication, and some form of external solution. But you spent decades helping people shift their nervous system and even enter altered states of consciousness using light, sound, and vibration. So what actually happens inside the human body when the right frequency hits it?
Well, Kyle, that's a great question. It's a very large terrain. Generally, what's being kind of put into the ethos is coherence. So the hormonal response to dropping in, getting present, which is really just an alignment and a reconfiguration of what you're referencing informationally. So when you're using light, sound, and vibration, it tends to reconfigure very quickly, very effectively, almost independent of what the person thinks is going on. So there's a moment where thinking isn't really possible. You have the resources that it takes to process the experience of light, sound, and vibration. It has to be repurposed. There's a reconcentration event of like, oh, I didn't realize that there's all these programs moving in my background, thinking about different, family, beliefs. I mean, the whole gamut of being human in this world now, which is just weird chaos. And the light kind of shuts down all the programs that are running in the background, clears the browsing history, and then reframes the way that we clock time. So time is a really big, it takes a lot of bandwidth to just be like, where do I have to be next? What's going on now? How do I get this done in this month? It's just a lot of fragmenting around time. So the light and the sound and the vibration, when you hit the right frequency, the perception of the world becomes, in a way, it condenses and then it expands in a new kind of pitch or tone or organizational framework that is then carried. It integrates because light is natural. We're designed biologically to ingest and respond chemically, biochemically, hormonally to light.
Right.
And then vibration, I mean, that's a whole other thing. So because light is a spectrum of sound, and sound is a part of the continuum of frequency, just different octaves. So we can see light. We can't see sound, but we feel it and hear it. Right. So it's just octaves. So those are our sense perception primary kind of modes. And what ends up happening is when we hit a frequency that is healing or perfect, or that our body responds to and we can feel it, the body starts to let go. Because it has the normal ways that it blocks or contains or controls or manipulates reality to get what it wants, which is usually based on illusion. It all falls apart because it's too slow, it's clunky, it's dependent upon external circumstances. So you pull all your energy in, and all of a sudden you realize how much of the reality of the individual's kind of felt, sensed life is noise, and how much of it is real or true.
So is it similar to a psychedelic? It's bypassing that default mode network in the brain and the other parts like the amygdala, things that are trying to keep you safe, and keep you in the 3D time space continuum is what it sounds like. Like it's flooding you with so much that it shuts everything else down.
In a way, so it's like, I was reading something the other day about, I'm not sure who is it. It was a teaching technique, and the whole premise of it, this is like a 50-year-old teaching technique. They would have two pens, left and right, and on one, and a pad of paper on each. On the left, you would write numbers. On the right, you would write letters, and you would try to do it until your brain was like, I can't. The fuck do you want me to do?
Right.
Like that's stupid. Like I can't do it. And then in that moment, the brain changes and it expands because it has to. You're telling it to do something that it's completely unfamiliar to do with. So yes, it helps you. I wouldn't say shut down, but bypass is a word that's
yeah.
It helps you understand that there is a default mode network, and that your awareness exists way beyond that reality or that kind of mode. So then it becomes you become neuroflexible.
I love it. And we'll dig into Light Club because it's definitely been one of the most profound experiences of my life. And,
honored.
Before we get into the technology and the science, I want to dig into a little bit about your background. So who are you and what is Light Club?
Gosh. Well, I'm Chuck. Been in Boulder about 27 years. Been doing deep fascia healing work. I would call it body work.
Right.
And I've been using a amalgam of tools that I've acquired over the last 20 plus years. And one of them is a vibroacoustics massage table. So I've been learning how to move sound and vibroacoustics or low frequency waves through the fascial system basically since I began. Yeah. Fate had it to where I just was able to buy one of the first vibroacoustic tables ever produced. And yeah. And then from there, meditation, Tai Chi, functional personal training for 10 years, working in Boulder, which is a very unique environment to work.
Right.
A lot of stuff is happening here that is usually reserved for larger tier markets. All sorts of biohacking. It's kind of one of the biohacking centers of the world. And yeah, so because I've been able to grow and learn in this environment, working on teams with other practitioners, I've been able to learn very fast and very deeply. And then Light Club is it's a place where someone can experience non-ordinary states of awareness very quickly, naturally, without needing this use of substances. I have nothing against substances. It's more I experienced the light at a point where it showed me what light can do. Right. Something about being both a photon and a particle, and then the crux being the state of being able to observe. And if you can observe, you open up a whole nother realm of working with reality, and the light becomes a way to augment or grow yourself into yourself, through yourself, more clearly and in a way that can integrate. Well, if I was to do an elevator pitch, meaning I just had about enough time to go from the third floor to the first floor to describe you, Chuck, I would say this. I would say, imagine if Nikola Tesla happened to be really embodied and a wizard with the fascia as well. I would accept. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to describe you. Not any other label, I feel, knowing you for a while now, falls short. Because if you were to take a title of, sound engineer, it would be short. If it was massage therapist, it would be short. And, just body worker in general. It's not. And I think our listeners are going to get to understand that at a whole nother level today. So how did you go from somebody who was a massage therapist into this vibrational medicine pioneer? Well, like most journeys in Boulder, I came here to go to school with Naropa, and that was pretty much predicated behind an experience that I had on psilocybin when I was about 18.
Expand on that one.
Yeah. Well, let's just say complete disillusion of self. I was working in a sports store selling soccer equipment, and we just had inventory, and it was super right brain, and I didn't eat, empty stomach, got home, and all of a sudden there was, let's do some mushroom tea. I'm like, okay.
Had you tried mushrooms before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A handful of times, but after basically fasting and then wearing out the mechanics of the brain.
Right.
And then
straight in,
no precognition. I wasn't planning on it, just like showed up. Okay. And 30 minutes in, the walls melted, went full Matrix style. And then I shot out of the body, and I was held in different places to watch different processes on the planet for what appeared to be probably millions of years. And then I came back down and was like, okay, like whatever I'm doing, that's not it. I have to go this way now. And that's what I did. That was, I don't recommend that. It took me about 7 years, I think, to fully come out of what it means to be completely pulled from the earthly realm,
mm-hmm.
and then to come back to it and look around and feel and see what you see and go like, what are we supposed to do here? Like, so I had to wait for my life to catch up with what I felt like I was being called to do. And that's how, the universe showed up and started putting technology in front of me, and my body was basically tuned to it. It was just like, yes, no, partial, mildly effective. And my body just tells me, it's like, like the first time I did light, the Lucia light was in 2010, and it was about a 15-minute session. They allowed me to combine it with the vibroacoustics the first time. In 15 minutes, I felt 40% less dense, gravitationally speaking, like the feeling of weight of the earth atmosphere pushing on you. I was 40% lighter walking down Pearl Street.
Wow.
Just like, boo, no substances. I was just like filled with this different substance and I was connected to some sort of weird buoyancy. And then I started looking around, and I could send a tendril of, I don't know how to describe it, mind light. It was a tendril, and I could look into the business and go and see their whole structure, just like zip. And I was like, oh, it's like, well, that business isn't like, I started to get into the actual structure of like timelines and how they were going to function if different economic challenges started happening. And like it was like the whole construct came up, and it was accessible. And I was like, okay, so that's valid. Like that, a 15-minute session doesn't usually open up sight like that, where you're able to maintain a semblance of self, and then also systems, and then also as they're expressing in life.
Why do you think that happened to you on the first time, experiencing light like that?
It's my guess is it's probably just a soul thing. What I've been told is that what I've been shown is that I come to different planets at times when there's enough correct technology that needs to be honed for the next step in evolution. And I somehow put it together and create a platform so that it can then assist. That's more or less the gist.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense to me, because what's interesting, and I hadn't ever even thought about this until this conversation right now, is that the first time I used the Lucia light was at the same event that less than 24 hours later was the first time I did mushrooms and DMT. So my first non-marijuana based psychedelic experience, which for me, that was more oxygen as a kid than it was a psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
It was all day, all night. But for me, my first experience with light was actually a few hours, or maybe 24 hours beforehand. It was part of that experience, and the similarities were profound.
Yeah.
And it was using the light. And what's really interesting with Lucia light, can you give a little background on that, so people don't think like, oh, you can journey with light and they just go and turn their bathroom light on and stare into it and their eyes start hurting and they're like, this sucks. Chuck's full of crap. Why don't you tell them a little bit about the actual tech?
Yeah, so the Lucia light they're the first company to bring to market a neuro-optical stimulator that uses stroboscopic light in combination, pretty much the only light in combination with a full spectrum halogen bulb. So the wavelengths are more balanced. You have the LED and then you have the halogen gaseous radiation piece. And it was developed by I believe a neurologist and a psychotherapist of 30 plus years in Austria. So they're masters. And their whole concept was to create an experience for people that induced what would be categorized as a near-death experience. An overview effect where, and that's where they started. They brought it to market, and it's the first one, and every company ever since has been trying to work off that model.
Right.
Of course, they own the patent. No company can combine the solid state analog light of the halogen with the LED flicker refresh rate. So that combination is it's unique on the market at this point, and it's designed to entrain the nervous system and work with how the neurology is expressing in the moment. And it can be categorized as psychedelic. It can be categorized as near-death experience. It could be deeply relaxing. It can also, it's basically a brain function, brain circulation amplifier. Yeah.
So I brought a lot of people into Light Club and will continue to. And one of the things that I hear all the time that's one of the most profound shockers for people is after their journey, they will talk about all the colors.
Yeah.
And then we'll show them that the light is white.
Yeah.
And that they are creating the colors with their own mind.
Yes.
And that still blows my mind. And I'm sure it's blowing the minds of everyone else and probably even still to this day.
Me.
You. Yeah.
It does not stop.
So how?
The biology is interesting. You start getting into it can get really kind of technical medical jargon, but in the long and the short of it, the eyes and the optic nerves, the way that they work is they kind of cross right around underneath the pineal gland, and then they go back into the brainstem. And one of the core, neurotransmitter spots for MDMA, psilocybin is the visual cortex. That's where the brain absorbs a lot of the serotonin, and that's where the light ends up going through, and it starts to kind of anneal or open those pathways. So you're not very often we get stuck in thinking that we're seeing things out here, but when you start to see things through here, a different pathway opens up, a different relationship opens up, because it's like to not sound trendy, but like when the pineal gland opens, it's a complete reorientation of how one operates or sees the world. And it's best to do that in a slow process. I don't recommend just kind of like, just pop open the pineal gland and good luck. it's like no.
Good luck, Chuck.
it's like that's a lot. There are reasons why they have monasteries, and there are reasons why they have people away from the world when they do that, because spiritual psychosis is real, and it happens a lot in Boulder, actually. Not sure if we have the metrics on that, but it is valid.
Why don't you explain actually a little bit? We'll stay on this tangent for a minute of spiritual psychosis, because I think a lot of people either have no idea what spiritual psychosis is, or think anyone who is spiritual at all is psychotic.
It's an interesting polarization. That's part of the setup here is we tend to put people in categories and then pathologize them. And that's all fair for the perspective of trying to shove as many drugs or pills into people.
That's right.
And whatever, every iteration of life has to have their way until they figure out another way. And, but it's like when the veil gets pulled off and you realize that you're interacting with the quantum field and levels of intelligences that are possibly millions or timeless, beyond time. Their intelligence is interwoven in the fabric of creation. It's not exactly a one-to-one. Categories don't work. Ontology doesn't work. Words don't work. How do we describe what we're seeing to another person and not sound crazy? So, or wherever those categories are. And the idea is we want to work with understanding the framework as the layers come off, so that we're not getting caught in a wave of reactivity. We're learning how to maintain a connection to a home base that is inner. It's not related to the world being safe for me. It's I am safe in the world, and from there I can resonate. And
beautiful.
That's kind of the approach that we take at Light Club. Is we don't want to push too hard if somebody's not ready, and we don't want to necessarily. We want to build up the reservoir to ingest as much reality that they can take, and usually there's a natural protective mechanism, which I call Delta.
Right.
Just go to sleep. It's
and so the level I'm at right now, when I come in there, would you call it LFG?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you're at the point now. I can throw, as far as light and sound goes, I can throw anything I want at you, and you're going to maneuver it. Like, you're going to adapt. You're going to take it and work with it. And that's not something. So the idea is that we have to basically assess
right
in real time, when does somebody kind of tap out. And that can look like all of a sudden they're breathing and they're respirating in a way that's relaxing, and then all of a sudden they stop and they start kind of like autonomically twitching, and it's just more like the nervous system kind of kicking off energy. It's like it'll just blow off energy, kind of like like when you're falling asleep and you just fall a little too fast, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa.
It's amazing to me that even if I have cauliflower pizza, or I don't drink, but if I had a couple of sips of wine or a bagel, I'm going to look like a pregnant man. I'm going to get exhausted. I feel like dog crap. But if I take these high level of light vibroacoustic experiences, which are all natural, non-psychedelic, I feel like home.
Yeah.
Like the internal feeling is like, I'm home.
Yeah.
In my body and in my own awareness. And it's a very hard thing to explain to somebody.
It's been my problem.
Desensitized to all the things that are designed to stockpile crap on their ability to be sensitive.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in this society, being sensitive is knocked down so hard. Like, oh, you're just being too sensitive. And in our universes, the more sensitive you are, the more you're like a superhero.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely leaning towards sensitivity is going to open up a whole slew of more abilities or capabilities than somebody who's kind of like holding on to dear life with the things that are replicable or consistent. Consistent doesn't work when you start to expand your field. It's like we don't live in a consistent world. Everything's constantly changing in permanence, and it's your ability to adapt, which is your ability to sense, orient to, I feel drawn or magnetized or repulsed, or, what do you call it? Yeah. Like I'm either going to move towards something or I'm going to move away from something. And that's happening at a very tiny level inside. And the more that you can feel that, you're more like, nah.
So Light Club isn't just Light Club. Light Club is also Vibroacoustic Club.
Yes.
But that would be really complicated for marketing. And it's already hard enough for those of us who are from somewhere else coming here to leave this world better than we got here to do the basic 3D marketing. Yep. So talk to me a little bit about what vibroacoustic therapy is for those who aren't familiar with it at all.
Got it. So vibroacoustic therapy it's kind of a new kid on the block. It's probably about 40 plus years old technically. It's a way of inducing subsonic frequencies into the tactile water matrix body. So it's like you're laying on a subwoofer, and your whole body becomes, the whole body becomes infused with waves that are lower frequency. So 20 hertz all the way up to about 250 hertz are the tactile. Mm-hmm. And your body starts to absorb them at a water matrix level. So interstitial fluid all the way to the fascia, into the lymph system, into the lymphatic system, which is the central nervous system, lymphatic system, cerebral spinal system, the whole system gets kind of induced,
Right.
or transduced, activated. And that goes all the way. I mean, we're talking like 3-dimensional and possibly beyond, but because anyway. So what happens is the nervous system within 15 minutes, the way that they've measured it is it equalizes the brainwaves. So we exist mostly in a beta world, driving, deciding, scheduling, email,
right. That means basically at home, beta brainwaves, right? You're talking about like how fast the brain is moving to really make you believe this 3D experience is all there is.
So it's a beta dominant world.
Right.
So in most cultures that are older, they have an appreciation and also an understanding of non-ordinary states of awareness, which don't exist necessarily in a beta dominant expression. Right. So just the vibroacoustics alone distributes the beta signal across the whole spectrum down to what we can measure, which is delta. And they just found a new one lower. Oh. And there's a new hyper gamma now, but it's pretty much infinite. If there's so it's just what we're able to measure electrically. Right. So just 15 minutes, your nervous system goes into regulation, or an equal distribution of activity across the whole. So you can it becomes accessible. And then once you can access it, you can know where you're at, and then you can tune where your baseline is. So if you realize you're in beta, then you can start to drop out and then experience dropping down into an alpha creative state, theta more like dream world, metacognition, communicating with source or the emissaries of source or illusion, and then reprogramming that relationship.
And so how does this sound interact with the body and also with the fascia?
So our fascia...
And maybe start by explaining a little bit first of what fascia is for those who don't know much about it.
Fascia is the foundational material that is it's a liquid collagen crystalline matrix, generally where they find the meridian structures. It's the connective tissue that holds everything together. It's in between everything from your skin all the way to your bone. It's a suspensory system that is, Buckminster Fuller called it a tensegrity. So it's like a fascial onesie.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine you're just this flesh bag and there's this net around you that is intelligent. It is benevolent. It is collagen expressed to hold life and possibly a soul in a way so that we can exist in the biosphere. It's just nutrient distribution, detoxification. It's amazing. It's a wonderful rabbit hole. It would take me probably two interviews to fully flush out what fascia is, but it's...
So you think or have heard, just because it's new to me and exciting, that the fascia can be holding the soul within the human body? Because I know it's such a complicated concept of like, is the body in the soul? Is the soul in the body?
Yeah, I mean,
where does fascia play in that?
Think of it as like a template of interaction. So it allows us to be here, and we kind of made the agreement when we came here to go through the body experience, and we're kind of like, okay, we're going to be in it. And that's the framework that we agree to come in through. We understand what it does and how it helps us grow and evolve because we can have a human experience. And the fascia is kind of, I believe, the primary vehicle that we get to have a nervous system and then interrelate with the world, have relationships to people, things, ideas, thoughts, emotions, mental states, emotional states, spiritual states. It allows us to kind of have progressions of kind of classifications of experiences. And then we get to discern, well, I don't like those big rocks. I'm going to go with this shinier, more, crystalline resonance stones, and just a way to classify an experience away from the vastness of kind of being at a galactic level, soul, light body traveling through the universe, and all of a sudden, you're now a human, and like, milk.
Yeah. That is probably the first thought, right?
Yeah, like, I'm thirsty. Milk. I can't shit.
Yeah.
Fuck. So the vibroacoustics, the way that I see it is that they take us back to that in the womb experience. So
Right.
the womb is a water drum. So it's a sphere of fluids that when the embryo is in it and the mom is walking or dancing, whatever she does, that drum of water, it's vibrating. It's like, and because the bones, when they hit the earth, they vibrate, and vibration creates pressure waves and it creates circulation waves, and it potentiates the division of cells.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're doing. It's like it's a rewombing experience and that's the vibroacoustics. So everything from integrating and retuning the nervous system, regulating the nervous system, now to possibly going back to the entry point into a womb life and so it's pretty vast.
Right. and it equates to frequency healing, which is, again, somebody's coming to you either in dis-ease or disharmony in some capacity. Now, when people are hearing about this idea of frequency healing, sometimes they think it's an abstract or mystical thing. And what actually is happening physiologically when that sound vibration enters the body?
Well, think of it as like a lens. So our ability to perceive reality is based on our ability to be sensitive to what's happening around us or inside of us. So because the nervous system is taking that information tactily from your skin all the way in, it starts to repurpose resources. So it starts to shed information and data that's basically useless. Like, this is way more interesting what's happening right now than me thinking about my next meal or who I want to see and why and what can I, how can I get my needs met? It's like,
it still compartmentalizes South Park right here. Just
yes.
sits right there. So we'll wait.
Yeah, it's like we're good. This is cool. Like, we're into this. Yeah. And so that concentrates and pulls you back into your body very quickly with like 5 minutes if you're mostly aware of just being human. It's like, this is cool. Something's happening. And so the vibroacoustics.
And then, so with the vibroacoustics, how does that sound vibration help rebalance things like the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems?
So just from a cellular, everything from the cellular level to the DNA level, the waves are moving through the entire matrix. So you're getting mitochondrial function, you're getting cellular exchange, interexchange, you're getting a repurposing of resources, renutrienting, because it's kind of another wave of distribution through the body. And then the nervous system. Once the cortisol goes down, once there's an identifiable integratable experience, the body starts releasing tension. So that releases circulation. So you can circulate more. The lymph system can move. Perspective. It changes, it shifts the whole perspective from there's an inner world experience and it amplifies that, and then it kind of de-amplifies or brings in a concept of kind of de-evolving the relationship with the external so that it can be reestablished.
And it's creating this deep relaxation.
Yes.
And so
de-stressing.
This de-stressing, deep relaxation state. Yeah. Why do you think that this then unlocks healing?
Well, the healing capacities turn on when there's no more threat. So when there's a perception of the threat of a threat at any level, my safety, my fellow countrymen are at war, my whatever the blasting threat, it keeps us in a state of, well, I need to be ready. So in my work, I talk a lot about self-trust and body's own natural intelligence. And it sounds like what you're doing is it's helping the body return to harmony instead of forcing it to change. Correct. It's like a nudge. That's a soft pillow combined with like fur. Because fur, like I have this thing with fur, like the whole, paleo movement. I think it goes all the way to fur. Because there's something about having animal hide, leather, and then the electrical experience of fur.
Ooh.
It's it's activating a primordial layer of information that is comforting.
So
tangent.
Well, no, I want to dig into that a little bit. So you're saying that the not our own hair that a lot of us may shave off or whatever. You're saying it's also our connection to other animals within the symbiotic relationship of the ecosystem, and using their fur and their skin as part of our costumes will activate. Absolutely.
I mean, humans didn't evolve. They weren't able to migrate without protection or other degrees of protection. And the fur is essentially the way that it allowed us to be able to move around and then proliferate.
Right.
And that is like in our DNA. So when we get a fur on us, it activates our electrical system in a way that's very familiar. It's almost like instant, like, oh, I don't know why that feels so good.
And we can get it just from cuddling our dogs and cats now.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I mean, that applies. And, and I'm not saying that. We need to be real when we understand that we are so connected to the earth at a flesh level when we're here, and how our DNA works here, it goes all the way back to how we migrated and the things that allowed us to migrate. And we have physiological, emotional, whether we're remembering or it's just a natural response to going back to
and our current migration pattern. We're pissed off if our plane's delayed 15 minutes, right? Yep.
We're encased in polyester and, all these different like oil-based products. It's like, it's endless just to think of how much the world is like, does it actually work for us? Like, is it working out in our favor? And can we tune that?
Yeah.
And that's really what I think what we both do.
I love it. I love it. So I think this might surprise people. I want you to talk a little bit how can trauma or emotional stress actually get trapped inside of the body's fascia?
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the ways that we're in that we're sensing our world. There's different protective mechanisms that come into play when we're trying to survive a threat or a trauma, physical, surgery, emotional. So the body will compartmentalize, and then depending on the nature of it and how the individual understands to move dense energy.
Mm-hmm.
So getting away from the idea that like we'll just, instead of labeling it as trauma energy, let's just call it, I'm noticing a densification of energy.
Mm-hmm.
It'll like pull off a little bit,
right? So
that it's not so it's like, oh my God, it's this. It's okay. You're naming it. You're not letting the energy move. And so understanding how do we actually contact the mechanisms of moving the energy, which is going to be fascia. So breath work, movement, dance. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that can potentiate the natural ability to move trauma or densified energy. And so, yeah, the fascial system it does so to protect the life. It's natural. It's like we don't have to. The key is to understand how, when we get to that point and we've identified that there's densified, contained, held energy in the tissue, that we can start to break it up and start to work with it in a way that's more in alignment with what's natural, versus getting caught in a repetitive cycle where you keep inducing a similar experience that has a different flavor so that you can then get the coordinates on the densified energy, looping, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And patterns.
And that's both physiological and psychological, where people will be stuck in these loops where it's like, yeah, my right shoulder, and they've identified this broken right shoulder that's always not working, or low back or neck or whatever it is. It's just constant identification and even labeling there, as well as the mental looping of, I can't get over that guy or girl, or I can't
whatever's being
do whatever it is.
Yeah, the shoulders. So I mean, there's different ways to read the template of the body. Think of the body as kind of like a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So there's rings in the tree that you can measure. That was a good year, they had more fluid. Oh, that was a bad year, that was a drought year, and you can measure the tree. The body's got a similar template. Kind of, you can see it in like Louise Hay's, the body, Heal Thy Body, Heal Thyself, something. It's like different areas of the body will hold different brands of trauma.
Yep. And you can heal your body.
Yeah, you can heal your body. Yeah. So like the shoulders are going to be a combination of how you carry things that maybe come from relationship weaving. So it's like, what are you shouldering? So on the right side, that tends to be father or relationship to the masculine. Left side tends to be the relationship to the feminine. So internal relationship to the external. So there's something going on between those coordinates. It's getting the coordinates enough to go, this is the brand or flavor of that densification of energy. And then let's start to work the pathways of that structure that we understand are fascial based and then fluid based, and you just unpack it and see what happens.
So I want to bring us back into light and psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's a lot of talk that the, experience can be called in this category, a new category of sober psychedelics.
Sure.
And I had to wear for you today my psychedelic sheep of the family t-shirt.
That's right.
and again, that still works with light.
It does. Oh, absolutely.
So,
it's the first, I think.
Yeah.
Light is the first psychedelic.
I like looking at it that way. So some people, they report experiences that are similar to psychedelics during these light sessions. Mm-hmm. And how can light alone create expanded states of consciousness without taking substances?
So we produce in our body, we have our own endogenous chemical cascade of natural psychedelics. And light seems to excite some of these receptors and also neurotransmitters. So, there's always a constant blood supply of DMT in the body. The body produces it naturally, and we can get spikes, and some people produce it more naturally. It's kind of unique. There was a study done in Sussex, England. You can look it up. They measured at a EEG level the electrical activity of the brain hemispherically, right, left, prefrontal cortex, and the harmonics of the brain. And they discovered that light, when used in combination of the flickering and the solid state light, so they tested the Lucia light, of course, and they compared the electrical activity of the Lucia light to a strong psilocybin mushroom chip. They mapped the same areas of the brain communicating and activating. So it seems to be preloaded, meaning that it's in there. It's a part of our biology. We just have to learn how to reinforce it or nudge it or accept that we live in a psychedelic world.
I love it.
And, the polarization around it and how we frame reality to work for the majority, usually suspect. It's like, it's relative.
So I want to dive into a piece of what you were getting into, which is this idea of, we are our own pharmacy, which is getting popularized in different healing ways right now. And it's, true and fascinating. But the piece that I think that you touched on that a lot of people don't have any awareness of is that we are also our own psychedelic pharmacy.
Yes. Absolutely.
So do you want to dive into that a little bit? Maybe at first also for people who maybe have heard of DMT, but haven't heard that you can create it yourself, through your own internal pharmacy.
Some of this can be anecdotal. Some of this can be science-based. The pineal gland has shown up symbolically in the ancient traditions for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. There's been an understanding of it, and that's been kind of possibly suppressed because you can't have a bunch of awake people running around. They're hard to control. They tend to want to evolve and break down systems that don't work, expose dumb shit. Anyway, so yeah, our body produces its own DMT. In the highest concentrations that they found are through the lung tissue. So breath work is a ancient but also coming back approach. Stanislav Grof kind of coined or created his own in the 60s in his studies, and then it's evolved. And breathwork is a way to amplify the production of DMT from the lungs. And then the other one is the pineal gland. It's one of the only, I think it's the only organ in the brain that is actually not protected by the blood-brain barrier. So there are different ways to amplify its biological efficiencies to produce. And one of them is you have to kind of understand that it's been calcified based on the modern diet and the use of different minerals and things to help kind of suppress or diminish the importance of the master gland. And it's a wonderful rabbit hole to go down. It's, again, that would probably take another podcast or two.
And what's interesting is that with polarity and with it being on a spectrum is that there are things that people can do to amplify the opening and the awareness, and then things that people can do either with or without their own consent to close their openness. And basically the way I like to word it is, and to thin the veil. So what are some things that can open that up so that their light experiences or sober psychedelic or other experiences are more optimized?
So looking at different minerals to incorporate into the diet. Boron is amazing decalcifier through the entire body. Highly recommend going down the rabbit hole of boron and getting on it. In this world, huge. There seems to be something rumbling about an herb called hirataki. It's a seed, I think, and it also decalcifies. The other one is limiting fluoride intake, and then finding a good mineral. There's a mineral supplement out there that I recommend for all my clients. It's called Beam Minerals. It's fulvic acid and humic acid compounds. It's a very absorbable. And then probably the fastest thing that you could do without having to buy anything is understanding the relationship of the nervous system to how you hold the neck position. So understanding that it's like, if we're looking and we have a perspective that we're holding, the third eye has its own system of being held. So we can get pretty deep into it, but the idea is you have to find it. And the fastest way to do it is millimeter adjustments during sitting meditation or when you're still, because you have to understand how to stack and balance C1 on top of the cranium. So the cranium sits on C1. It's about the surface area of a quarter. So a millimeter is a big deal. You know, if you're front loading your C1, you're basically squeezing off your brainstem and you're mashing you're not circulating or underneath the pituitary. So understanding the structure of the housing of, so like in a lot of the symbology in the, I hate to bring it up, but the Egyptian symbology, a lot of those, and even the Hindu, a lot of those symbols are actually templates of the deep inner brain structures, and understanding that they were primary in understanding their kind of approach, we'll say. So the idea is that you want to work on head tilt and lifting the back of the skull, or learning how to turn the ears like this.
Okay.
And you reach towards at the top of your head, and then you let the nose be heavy. And then you can play with your forehead or just wait. And that's the adjustment. It's this to this. And then you add the breath, and that's learning how to position and find your center, which is an axis. So think of it as like we're in a three-dimensional reality. So there's sagittal, horizontal, and vertical. So this way, and then this way. And you have to get all of those lined up.
And so
underneath the pineal gland.
So someone at home, let's just say they're a fairly experienced meditator, but they haven't really tapped into spatial awareness. A lot of what they'd want to tune into is really elevating their rib cage and then retracting their cervical spine, just bringing it back, and then sort of rotating at the ear.
Yep. That would be a way in.
Yeah.
That gives you the three planes.
And I like a visual cue, kind of like you're a marionette puppet, and somebody's got little strings sitting up on top of your head, and they're just kind of pulling you up. They're tugging. Because that will naturally bring this back. And it will naturally pull everything up and back.
So that decompresses the base of the skull, which is like right here. And it opens up the sphenoid, and the sphenoid is what kind of directs the flow of fluids in and around the pineal gland. So it's very structural, and that's the fastest way.
And then if we want to become marketers for boron, we can say, don't be a moron, choose boron. So we can keep it really simple.
Yes. Well done.
And if you are not awake, you may feel a little bit moronic and not know it. So
it's okay to have more. It's okay to have playful moronical moments.
Absolutely.
Where we can like bring levity and also laugh.
I want to drop a little bit into the future of vibrational medicine. So where do you see vibrational medicine going in the next decade?
Gosh, do I want to give this up is the question.
I'll put it a little bit nicer.
If certain industrialists are actually interested in promoting healing and want to throw billions of dollars into actually supporting the human race and its evolution towards goodness and holism and integrity, I would, if I was sitting in their influential shoes, I would say you would want every hospital bed in the world to have vibrational acoustic energy devices in them, because you can tune the healing process, post-surgical interventions, all the way, any of them. You can reduce stay time, you can reduce recovery time. They can get out of the hospital faster because it turns on the healing response. It literally turns it on. Like you can just turn on a frequency that we know is safe, gentle, and then put on some headphones, and all of a sudden pain goes down 40%. All of a sudden you're getting lymphatic system. You're generating compounds in your body to heal. That's what I'd do. I mean, if I was actually interested in supporting humankind, but you know what?
I would say the majority, yes, that is needed. But there
no,
are
more vaccines, more shots, more intrusive things, more surgeries. Okay, cool.
I figured out how we're going to sell them on it. Here's how we're going to sell them on it. Ready? We're going to say, look, that Jell-O that you're serving them in hospitals, at least it will be fun to watch it jiggle when you have the vibroacoustics going on.
Yeah.
So we are giving them entertainment in exchange for healing. What do you think?
That works.
Yeah.
I mean, it beats having people just stare at a television while they heal.
Absolutely.
Why would you do that? Like why wouldn't we turn all our resources towards what we know works?
Right.
There's only one other reason. It's greed. Like, I need 15% a year. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
It's
on the backs of our children.
And we know this through the health and fitness and weight loss communities. The worst thing that they could do is get rid of any sort of temptation where everyone is all just naturally healthy, because they'd be out of business.
Yeah. And maybe that's a natural progression.
Yeah. Maybe
there's a new way that we have to think about, hey, how do we scale back our consumptive illusory programmings? And here's how we can do it gradually. Let's just start in an industry that is supposed to be health oriented, and at that front, turn it just gently.
But hey, we need to celebrate that they took out Red 40. Forget all that other stuff.
Yeah. It's like, okay, it's like dangle a carrot. And it's like, oh, we'll give you something. Okay, cool.
That carrot doesn't do it for me. Sorry.
Awesome. It's like there's more.
I gotta say, everyone can say, well, that's a step. It's pretty similar to saying, well, hey, my alcoholic dad, he doesn't punch my mom with an open fist or closed fist anymore. Now he uses the backhand. Hey, we progressed.
There's some growth there.
Right.
Jesus.
Woo! Well, I'm gonna hit you with a couple of rapid fire ones.
Let's do it.
I just want you to pop right off the top of the heart, not the top of the dome on this one. So first thing that comes to, for some people, I'd say first thing comes to mind, but for you, I'm going to say first thing that gets into your conscious biofield.
First thing.
Here we go.
Okay, got it.
First thing that pops into your biofield.
I was about to do that.
Yes. I don't know if we want the first thing. I don't know if they censor or air or put labels on podcasts, but we'll get one. So one daily habit that helps people regulate the nervous system.
Breath. Dropping into the breath. Getting used to using the physiological sensation of the breath. Changing the pitch and orientation of your mental focus. If you're focusing on noise, if you're focusing on drama, if you're focusing on just low energy, not bringing you goodness, breathe. 5 deep breaths, reposition your awareness.
Love it.
As fast as you can.
Something most people misunderstand about healing.
Oh, in Boulder? Huh.
We have a lot of listeners who are definitely not in Boulder, so all over the place. Just humanity, Americans.
It's getting out of the idea that I have to reach for a substance, reach for an experience, reach for, this is kind of counterintuitive to it's like the mental approach to healing. It's the difference between connecting with a state of healing in your body versus needing a thing to get into a feeling. It's like one's not better than another, but it's good to just understand that you have more autonomy in understanding how you pull an energy and resonate and connect with a healing vibe, a healing state, a healing clock, pace. And that is just as important as finding someone who has information, finding the right supplement, finding the right experience, finding the right sound bath, finding the right yoga teacher, finding the right, it's like, cool. It's all there. It's all accessible. Just make sure that you spread the love.
I love it. A book that changed your life.
Freedom from the Known, Krishnamurti. He pivotally, imagine having someone having a mental, emotional hacksaw come into your field through words and just go useless, noise, and just samurai chop, like get out of your conceptual head. And Krishnamurti was that. Freedom from the Known. Tiny book. It just imagine having someone go into your thought form brain and go, no. Oh, that nope. That's noise. And until you're just like, all of my existence was noise. And this was like in Naropa. I was reading him on cannabis out on a deck. It was a summer night. Summer nights in Boulder are just, there's something very special about them. But I got through one particular chapter, and all of a sudden, the Star of David, the 6-pointed star, showed up in front of me, and it just started resonating. And it was just like, zzz, and I was like, okay, I got it. And then ever since then, it was just like there was this like structure of like, if it doesn't resonate, like resonance really came through. If it doesn't feed my resonance, if it doesn't uplift, then it's just like, nope.
I got one more for you because you told me about this the first time we met. The relationship between Boulder and rose quartz.
Yeah. So there's a layer of rose quartz underneath Boulder that's about 1.5 feet thick, and you can see it underneath the Flatirons if you wish to go up to the Flatirons. So when you have that much layer of quartz, rose quartz, and it creates an amplification field. And people experience it as, I would say the area is shamanically active for probably a number of different reasons, but something about the rose quartz and the distribution of other minerals in the Boulder area create a unique energy of that impacts the evolution of souls, in my opinion. There's a reason why Trungpa was drawn here. There's a reason why teachers come here. There's a reason why musical acts at certain points make it a point to pass through Boulder, because there's an activation that happens here that, whether we're aware of it or not, kind of like similar to Sedona, but one of the aspects is you can tie it to the rose quartz.
Beautiful. And then I'm going to throw a little quick bonus one in here, which is, what would you say to somebody who says crystals are bullshit?
Okay, that's fair.
Well, let me rephrase that. What would you say to someone who said, I think crystals are bullshit, but I might be wrong. I'm open to hearing why.
Yeah, depending on what crystal, you can look back to basically, let's just do quartz. Quartz is a timing. They figured out how to basically compress quartz and get an electrical charge out of it, and then run a clock with high levels of accuracy over decades to maintain that that clock. So if science has figured out that it emits an energy, and the ancients, you look back to history and you look at how crystals and stones were used, and then you realize that everything on the planet that is of nature is sentient. Well, what's possible? Really, it comes down to the ideas that do you lean towards being curious and what's possible, or do you tend to lean towards what I've been told and someone else's opinion is? And I'm just going to repeat what I've been told. So if you want to be a repetitious fool, and that's okay, you can do that. I tend to lean on towards of curiosity and what's possible, because that gives me more bandwidth to understand the world from a framework that is beyond me needing to be told what works, and by an establishment, by a cadre of people that maybe have interests that maybe have no interest beyond their own.
Well, curiosity may have killed the cat, but it opened the seeker's mind. So I will go with the curious open mind any day over the closed one.
And that's why we resonate. That's
right, brother. Well, before we wrap, what's one question you'd like to ask me?
Gosh, I mean, you.
7 is the answer. Thank you.
As of today, like, what has landed for you in this new paradigm that we live in with the time on the planet that we're at? What has entered your field as like something that you're just, it creates juice. It creates like life affirming yeses for you, like a practice, something that like has brought wind to your sail.
Community, like-minded, coherent, resonant community has become such an important flagship of my life. And I like to say that, you know, hindsight's 2020 and foresight's pea soup fog. So from this hindsight view, so much of the struggle I went through in my life was from this deep belief that I had to build it and create it alone, and that I was unresourced. And what I've realized is that community is the ultimate resource, as long as it's aligned community, because boy, oh boy, misaligned community sucks.
I mean, we are talking about humans. So
yes,
you know, alignment is relative to usually a couple of different variables. So that we can be in alignment, brother.
Grateful for it.
Grateful for you.
Absolutely grateful for it. And so Chuck,
yes, sir.
A little closing reflection. So what I love about what you're doing is that it reminds people of something really powerful, that the body isn't broken, that it's intelligent. And sometimes the right light, the right sound, and the right vibration simply reminds the body how to return to harmony.
Yes.
So thank you so much. And if people want to continue to follow your journey, we'll put it here in the show notes. But what's the best way to get in touch with you and come experience Boulder Light Club? Yeah,
just check out lightclub.earth. That is
lightclub.earth.
Lightclub.earth. And then, yeah, we're in North Boulder, and it's been over 10 years, and we're not stopping.
I love it. And definitely connect with them on Instagram as well, because you can see some of this stuff. I know I get a lot of people outside of Boulder who are high achieving entrepreneurs. They'll see little videos that we've been doing inside a Light Club, and they'll be like, what is that? I want to go there. So it is open when you come on in town. Get a hold of Chuck and come and experience it.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, much love.
All right, my friend, if this episode sparked something in you, don't just wander off into the abyss of the internet. Hit subscribe so you can actually get the good stuff when it drops. And if you're feeling generous or mildly enlightened, leave some love in a review. It takes just 30 seconds, and somehow it feeds the algorithm gods so they know to send more people who really need it. Now, if you want to step deeper into my world, rapidharmony.com is where the real magic lives. Coaching, community, rituals, and a few surprises that are way better than just scrolling around another motivational reel and not doing anything about it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being you. And remember, your inner harmony isn't hiding. It's just waiting for you to pay attention. I'll see you on the next episode. Now go subscribe before you forget.